Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I'm on a financial freedom journey with my family. I share all about that and more on my channel. Today I'm sharing a Q&A. I asked for questions on Instagram. I got a bunch. I have my phone here that I will be reading off of. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my questions on my phone. Let's go ahead and get into it. I do have a few questions here. The first question, and these are like various questions about money, not about money. So I'm just going to go through them in the way that they came in. But yeah, they're not necessarily all money specific, although I think a majority of them, actually, I think maybe all of them are, honestly. But first question is, how did you decide on $25,000 for your emergency fund? If you guys have not been following my channel for a while, we are currently working on our goal to bump up our emergency fund to $25,000. It was previously $20,000. So this person's asking, why did we decide on $25,000? Honestly, there's not a huge reason why. I didn't like specifically say that like I needed a certain amount of like monthly expenses. I know that's how like most people do it. They'll be like, okay, well, 3 to 6 months of like necessary expenses. That this number is within that range. It's probably on the higher range of like maybe 6 months of expenses, honestly. But I honestly mostly just liked the number because we picked 20,000 the first time and I knew that we wanted to bump it up. And I was like, let's just bump it up 5,000. There really wasn't a huge rhyme or reason. Sorry that that's not a good answer necessarily, but we just picked 25,000 because that felt right. I don't know. It just feels like a good amount to have in there. We also have 5 people in our family. So another thought was kind of like 5,000 per person. I don't know. It just felt like a good number. And it is like within the range of like probably 5 to 7 months of expenses for us if we were like bare bones. So that felt like a comfortable number to us. But yeah, if you are looking for a good number for yours, like just try to figure out like what your bare bone expenses are and then multiply that by however many months you feel comfortable with. But I just liked the kind of round numbers. And when we picked 20,000, it was within like the probably 5 to 7 months of expenses as well. So we stuck with that and just bumped it up 5,000 because we knew like, hey, we have a whole nother person in our family from when we calculated that number. And yeah, that just felt right. Sorry, that's not a good answer. Second question is, how do you keep momentum when paying off debt or have a large financial goal? This is a great question. Our debt-free journey was 2 years long, so we were paying off debt for quite a while. And like our financial goals journey hasn't stopped since then. So like we've been constantly on some sort of goal or some sort of journey ever since. And so what I can say to you is, have like stops along the way where you like reward yourself. So like when I was paying off debt, it was like every 10,000 was like a big deal and we would like celebrate it and like just it made it feel like there was not so much like just, I don't know, it just makes it feel like it's going quicker, especially if you have like a very large amount of debt. Like we had over 130,000. So I knew that that was going to be a really long journey. So we just tried to acknowledge like the little things that we were doing along the way. Surround yourself with like people, even if they're not in your real life. Like that's why just social media is so powerful. Watching videos like mine or other financial creators can be really helpful and made me feel less alone. And just like nobody in my real life was on a debt-free journey with me. I only had my community online to share with. And like, it was so nice to just know that other people were doing the same thing as me. And so that I think that is so underrated in this community and on these journeys is just the power of like having people to be with you, because it can be so like lonely and just like you don't feel like everyone else is doing what you're doing. You're different than everyone else because a lot of people do have debt. And so it can feel really like isolating at times. So I would say surround yourself with like people, break down those big like markers by like little milestones, treat yourself along the way, and just like, I don't know, just keep going. It can be so hard. And sometimes I didn't have the motivation, but I did have the discipline. And I think that's important to identify that like, you're not always going to be motivated to do these things, but you just have to be disciplined and have that end sight in mind. Like, what do you want out of life? And put that at the end of this. So just have that like why in mind and just keep moving towards that goal. If your why is strong enough and if your why is important enough to you, you will not let anything get in your way. That is exactly what happened on our debt-free journey. Like our why was my kids and our financial future. And that was so important to me that nothing was going to stand in my way from getting to that point. The third question, how do you handle money with your kids? Do you do allowance? So at this time, we do not do an allowance for my kids. If you're new to my channel, my kids are 10, 5, and almost 3. He'll be 3 in January. and we do not do an allowance for any of them right now. Honestly, they don't really spend a lot of money themselves. Like during the holidays, like obviously we buy them gifts, we buy them their clothes that they need, we pay for their extracurriculars and their school stuff, but like they really don't need a lot of spending money, so we don't give it to them. And also I don't want to encourage them to like just buy things to buy things either, because I feel like that can be a little bit of like a slippery slope with doing like allowances, that I feel like it can like train your kids to like want to constantly be like looking for the next thing to buy, or like what am I saving for now, or like, you know, doing those kind of things. So we don't do allowance. I don't know that we ever will. Maybe when my son is older, like a teenager, we might try to do something of that sort, or like give him chores that he could like make money for, but at this time we don't. How do we handle money with our kids? I am extremely transparent with my kids about money. We talk about money openly in my house. They know how much I make. They know how much my husband makes. There are no secrets with money in my house, and I intentionally do it that way. I grew up with a pretty like secretive family about money. Like I still to this day don't know how much money my dad made growing up. Like I had no clue. Like he was very secretive about it, didn't want to share it, felt like it wasn't something. And I feel like that maybe is just like that generation too, is like, that's like such a private thing. Like we don't share that, but I am like very open and transparent with money with my kids and like people in general. Like if you come up and ask me how much money I make in real life, I will tell you. Like I don't have a problem like talking about it in real life or with my kids. And I talk openly about money with my son the most because he's 10 and he really understands. Like he knows what a Roth IRA is. He knows how much money is in his college savings. He knows like what careers might be good options for him. Like we talk openly about like, hey, like you seem to really enjoy this thing at school. Like, have you thought about maybe this could be a good career path for you? And like, here's kind of the range of like what those people make. And like, why is it important to pick a career that is lucrative and those kind of things. And like, obviously I don't want my kids to like only select their careers based on like what can make money for them. But at the end of the day, like that is a little bit of reality of life, that like you need to have a job that you can live. So like we do talk about like, here's, you know, you could be an entrepreneur, but that's a really difficult path. Here's like the pros and cons of that. Like here's the pros and cons of this type of work and this type of work. And so I just try to be as open as I can with them because I didn't have that growing up. And I feel like it's important for my kids to know about money. They know how much our mortgage payment is. They know how much money we have in savings. I just want them to know the reality of our situation. They know that I've paid off debt. They know that we had debt. They know that that I took out a lot of loans for college and that I don't want them to have to do that too. And hence the college savings. Like we talk openly about all of those things. And especially with my oldest, like when he gets money for like his birthday or Christmas or just whatever, like throughout the year, we always talk about like, okay, we could spend this money, we could save this money, we can do both. I don't necessarily try to sway him either way. And there have been times where he said, like, I really want to go to Target and buy this thing. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's your money. You get to make that decision. But I do always say and encourage him to like, okay, you want to buy this thing. Well, this thing's only $30 and you have 50. Do you want to save the other 20? And usually he'll be like, yeah, actually that makes sense. Like I do want to save it. And then we'll put it in his college savings. And then I show him like, okay, here we put $20 in and here's how much you have made from that now. Like this money is growing. So I think that it's really important to teach your kids about money. I wish that I had had the knowledge that I now have when I was like 18 years old, because I literally didn't know anything about money at that age. I took out obviously over $100,000 of student loans. I clearly wasn't like the most financially educated person in the world. I also bought a brand new car in college and I made a lot of financial mistakes. And so I would love to save my children the gruesome reality of that and like making those type of like mistakes or choices if I can. So we talk very openly about money and that's how I handle it. Next question is kind of related to that. It is, how much do you plan to help your kids with college? Like I said, my oldest is 10. He's going to be 11 in August. So he is like, sadly, like coming up to that age. I mean, not really, like he's got, 7 years left before he's like at that college age, but 7 years is going to go really fast. Like I said, we talk openly about college and how expensive college is and the colleges that he may want to go to someday. Obviously, like he's very young still, so like he doesn't know what he wants to do when he grows up. He doesn't know what college he wants to go to, but we talk openly about it. And I always try to encourage him like, hey, if you're interested in this, like let's look into it. Like let's see how much this college costs. Actually, most recently, he brought up MSOE, which is a college in Milwaukee, which we live in Wisconsin, like in the Milwaukee region. So he brought up MSOE. And if you've ever heard of MSOE, it's the Milwaukee School of Engineering, and it is incredibly expensive, like super expensive. I think it's like $50,000 a year. And so I brought up to him like, okay, if you want to go there, that is definitely an option for you, but here's how much it is. Here's how much you have in your college savings right now. And here's how much we would need to get you there. Like, and it's a lot, right? Like there's not a lot in your college savings right now. So like that would be a big feat for us to be able to help you with that. And it would be just helping with that, because there's no way we're going to have $200,000 to be able to put him through MSOE for 4 years. But the other thing that I talked to him about is, hey, if you like that college, you also could go to like a technical college for a couple of years and transfer there. And that would be a really good way to save a lot of money on tuition and like those kind of things. So we literally just had that conversation like a week ago. And again, I'm just very transparent and open with him. And I don't try to discourage him from those type of things, but I do just try to talk openly with him about it and say like, what are we going to do to get you there if that's what you want? And like, how will that impact your life if you do decide that you want to go to a college that's that expensive and you would need to take out loans, and like, we will help you. So that's kind of not really what this question was. How much do you plan on saving for your kids, or how much do you plan on helping them? As much as we can. We will help them as much as we feasibly can. And I feel like we're going to take it on a one kid by kid basis. Like my oldest is 10 and my middle is 5. So there's a 5-year age gap between them. So we will be taking it kid by kid and just seeing like however much we can help them realistically is what we want to do. I've talked a lot about it on my channel. Like we haven't been prioritizing college savings at this time because we do have a lot of other financial goals that we want to work towards. But in the next few years, it'll definitely be a priority for us because again, my son is coming up to the point where we're going to need to start saving more for it if we do want to help them. My kids do all have 529 accounts open for them. My parents open their 529s when they're born, and my parents contribute every single year for their birthday and Christmas. And so all 3 of my kids have like a decent amount in there. My son, my oldest, I think is almost up to, I think he's just at like 9,000. So again, when we were talking about MSOE, I was like, okay, you only have like $9,000 in your 529. So that would be like 2 weeks, not really, but like I was like joking. I'm like, you have like 2 weeks of tuition for that really expensive school. Whereas like if you looked at a state school in Wisconsin, like you might have like a whole semester, or actually maybe even a whole year of tuition in there right now. So like just like pros and cons, but it just all comes back to however much we can help them, we will. I want my kids to take out as little loans as humanly possible. Realistically, they probably will have to take out loans because I don't know that we're ever going to be able to fully pay for their tuition. And also depending obviously on like where they go to college or like what they want to do. But yeah, I don't know that we'll ever be able to like fully pay for it, but we absolutely want to like pay as much as we can. And I do plan to really ramp that up in the next few years. Next question, would you consider a cruise for a family vacation? So this one came shortly after I posted, I think, my goals video. We talk every year about our family vacation. Historically, the last few years, we've been vacationing with my sister and her kids in Florida. And we do plan to do that again in 2025. So we probably wouldn't consider a cruise in like the near future, but absolutely we would. I have been on 2 cruises. My husband and I actually went on a cruise for our honeymoon and really enjoyed it. I'm like a lazy traveler. So cruises are really nice for me because it's like everything's planned out. The food is free. Like you don't have to think about like, where are we going to eat? What are we going to do? Like things are just done for you. So it's really nice. And I would love to take my kids on a Disney cruise. That is something that my husband and I have been talking about actually for Christmas next year. I don't know. We've been considering it. So we'll have to see. But we were considering like skipping Christmas. Okay, this is hilarious. We literally just watched Christmas with the Cranks. If you have never seen that movie, it's where they're like planning to skip Christmas and they're going to go on a cruise, and like it is freaking hilarious. I love that movie. We just watched it, so like probably that's where this idea came from of like maybe we should do a cruise for Christmas. And I do think it would be really fun, and my kids are all at really good ages for that, I think. So stay tuned. I don't know. Disney cruises are super expensive, so I'm not sure if we'd be able to do it for next year, but maybe for the year after or something like that. I just feel like it would be really fun. And maybe we'll do a cruise. The answer is yes, we would absolutely consider it, and we probably will do one in the next few years. Next question, how do I save money fast? Honestly, like the best way to save money fast is to increase your income. That's the one that you will have the most success with, I think. You can cut down your expenses as much as you can. Obviously, that's important, but you can only cut down your expenses so much. And so honestly, like increasing your income is unlimited. You have unlimited opportunity. Now, am I saying that it's easy? Absolutely not. But is it possible and is it technically like unlimited? Yes. So you can absolutely do that. That is something that we did focus on in our debt-free journey, was trying to increase our income. Side hustles, I literally talk about it every single week on Debt Free Friday. Our side hustles, what we do for extra money, and it is really powerful to increase your income. So if you want to save money fast, cut down your expenses as much as you can, and then focus on increasing your income however you can. Pick up a side job, donate plasma, like start a social media, like start sharing on social media, start a YouTube channel. Now that's like a long-term thing. Like I didn't make my first YouTube paycheck until 5 or 6 months probably. But yeah, like start a social media, but know that that's like a long-term thing. Instacart is one that I've done a lot in the past, and you guys have heard me talk about. Surveys on the go. There's a lot of different ways that you can make extra money. So try to find something that you like. You can sell things on Etsy. Like there's just so many different options. You can dog sit, you can babysit, you can do all the things. So increase your income if you have a goal that you really want to save for fast, if that's possible. How to prevent impulse spending. Honestly, it's hard because I feel like I still struggle a little bit with impulse spending, especially in the day and age that we're in, with like having Amazon and having Target like online and just like having that so in your face all the time. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have internet for the majority of my early childhood. So like I didn't grow up with like being able to just order something online. Like even when I was like a teenager, like we were barely getting into like the Amazon time, and like most people didn't have it at that time. So like I grew up not having as much of that. And so I feel like now that I'm an adult and everything is so easy, I do feel myself impulse spending a lot. And I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that I haven't figured out, because I don't, because I do still feel like I struggle with impulse spending a lot. And a lot of times it's not on anything that's like super expensive, but like I find myself like randomly, I'll just order, like I'll think of something. I'll be like, oh my gosh, next week is dress up day at school and I don't have a candy cane headband, and I really have to just go buy a candy cane headband right now. And I will just order it. And it's like, so I try to like just stop myself and be like, do you really need a freaking candy cane headband for one day at school? Like certainly you can think of something else, or like just, you know, whatever, figure something else out. So I'm still struggling with it. But I think the main thing is, and what I've done in the past, we don't have Amazon anymore. We don't have Amazon Prime anymore. We stopped paying for it because not only was it super expensive, but we just were impulse spending a lot more on Amazon. So I don't have I mean, we still buy on Amazon periodically. Like we don't have Amazon Prime, but like you can still buy on Amazon without Amazon Prime. So we do still buy on Amazon periodically, but like not having Prime has really made me like rethink purchases more than we would in the past. And also just like, I have a list in my phone and it literally is titled like things I want to spend money on. And I just add to my list every time I think of something, or I see something that I want. Like I'll be on TikTok or Instagram and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I love that sweater. Instead of buying it, I will go to my list and I will add it to my list. And then if I ever have like extra personal spending money, or like I'm just feeling like, hey, I thought about that thing again and I really wanted to buy it, I'll go back to my list and I'll maybe buy it, maybe I won't. And there's been so many times where I've gone back to my list and deleted multiple things because it was truly just an impulse and I don't really need it and I don't really want it. I just wanted to like write it down. Or like with my kids too, like when we go to the store and they want something, instead of buying it, I take a picture of it and I say, here, we can add it to the pictures. I'll take a picture with it. You can remember that for your birthday or for Christmas, and we will revisit it. 90% of the time, they never want to look back at the pictures. They just wanted to take the picture. Like they never even want to look at it again. And it's the same thing with me too. Like sometimes I just want to take the picture. Sometimes I just want to write it down. Sometimes I just want to add it to my cart and then never look at it again. And just know that like you can have that impulsive thought, and maybe you can't ever control that, because I don't know if you can truly. Like sometimes like I said, I still have those like impulsive spending thoughts, but you can control not clicking checkout. So that's what I try to do. I try to just be like, okay, do I really need this right now? Do I really need this? Or like I just try to limit the amount I'm spending too. Like I try to only grocery shop once a week at the most. If I really need something, okay. But if I can get by without it, I try. And usually I never need to buy the item. Like I will figure it out without it or just move on. Like That's my thought on that. But it is hard and I struggle with it. So just know that you're not alone and that it is normal, especially in this day and age where it's literally in your face. Like, just for example, like TikTok, I love TikTok. I think it's so fun, but I've been trying to stay off of it more. Every single TikTok that I see is like an ad for something. And I'm like, I don't want to constantly be being like advertised to. I know that like that's the way that a lot of people make money, but I don't want to constantly feel like I'm needing to buy something, or, oh my God, you need this for your holiday party, or you need this for your stocking, or you need this for your husband's stocking, or whatever. Like, it's just constant. Monitoring your social media and like removing people that like trigger you to overspend is really helpful too. And the last question is how to manage all of your goals, like paying off debt, saving, investing. I'm overwhelmed. I think this is really common and it still happens to me too. Like, I feel like every single year when I'm thinking of my financial goals, there's like so many things that you can do with your money. And a lot of times, like, I just get really overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, well, we could save for our retirement. We could save for our college savings. We could save for vacations more. We could buy a new car. We could remodel something in our house. We could, like, there's so many things that you can do with money that sometimes it can be so overwhelming. I think the thing that's helped me the most is just prioritizing. So the first thing we prioritized in our financial journey was paying off debt. And I think that that was really important that we prioritize that for ourselves. So I would say if you have any debt really, or like just any like non-mortgage debt, personally, I would prioritize that first. That's just personal preference. You don't have to necessarily, but if you do have credit cards, I would 100% prioritize credit cards first. Credit cards first. And then like any other non-mortgage debt, I personally would recommend to prioritize next. And then, are you saving enough for retirement? Because there's no loans for retirement. So you need to make sure that you're in a good position to retire, because you don't want to be like a burden on your children, or you don't want to have to worry about retirement. So I would say like debt, pay off as much as you can. Am I in a good place for retirement? Then like anything else, do you want to save for whatever? Like, do you want a new car in a few years? You should probably start saving for that. And a lot of these can be done at the same time. So just ranking them in the priorities that are important to you. And you don't have to follow mine. Like, if you feel like you want to prioritize them differently, by all means, like prioritize them how it's important to you. But what helps me not be overwhelmed is, honestly, I have like a bucket list in my phone too. So every year I write down my goals in like in my notes section of my phone. So I have like our 2025 goals, like personal, financial, and then at the bottom I have like a brainstorm, or like all the things that we talked about that maybe either didn't make the list or we can't prioritize this year. So like college savings for our kids. I want to go on a vacation. I want to go on a cruise. I want to go on this. I want to do this. I want to do this with our house. I want to buy a new car. Like all the things that maybe didn't make the cut of this year, write them down. And then just know that like that's the list that you can start with next year. So like go back through your goals from this year. What did we accomplish? What didn't we? Maybe they need to move to the next year. And then like also go back to that bucket list of like other things that you want to prioritize. And that's a really good way to do that too. That is all I have for this video. That was all the questions that you guys had submitted. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye guys.